Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bored and Annoyed. I am home at the movies.
And I'm Jackson.
And this week we are discussing Robin Hood, Green Book, and Creed 2.
Yeah, we got three.
We got three movies.
And I saw a bonus movie that I'll just briefly discuss.
We've got four, actually.
Jesus.
That's a lot of content.
Hey, that's the holiday weekend for you.
Yeah, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Mine was not full of politics. It was lovely.
Mine was full of the Lions losing, so it was horrible.
Yeah, well, I'm a Packer fan, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, right.
Bored and Annoyed. So we'll get into the movie news first. Easily, by far and away, the biggest news this week was the drop of the Lion King trailer.
Oh, yeah, huge. It looks awesome, by the way.
I'm pumped.
Well, it was funny because I felt like I'm like the duped idiot when I watched it, because like all it is like a CGI recreation. There's nothing original about it, I guess.
It's literally just nostalgia porn.
Yes.
And I don't care.
No, it looks amazing.
I mean, I was telling somebody, I was like, I think the only reason that they got James Earl Jones was so that they could have that voiceover for the trailers.
That's my issue so far, is I love James Earl Jones.
Right.
Bring him back as, was it Mustafa or Mufasa?
Mufasa.
Mustafa, I feel like is somebody else's name. But yeah, as Mufasa.
Yeah.
I want my Jeremy Irons as Scar, though.
Yes.
That concerns me. It's a very specific voice, and I feel like my brain is not going to accept it.
But they got the amazingly talented Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Is that how you say his name? Did you get that right?
Yeah.
How long did you study that for to get that one?
I don't know.
I do like him.
He's great. I think he's a great actor. So I think he'll do a great job.
There's just something about that Jeremy Irons voice, though.
It's true, though. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I mean, if we're going to get that sort of picky, then it's kind of like, well, just get the whole damn original cast back, you know?
Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at with it, is like, you know, I get it. You're getting James Earl Jones for the nostalgia. I mean, it almost does seem like trailer made.
Yes.
You know, to coin a new phrase there.
Trailer made.
Trailer made.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, well, there you go. But yeah, if you're going to do that, then I'm going to miss other people, too.
Yeah.
He wasn't the only one. I mean, bring JTT back to play.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. And Matthew Broderick can just stay away, his mediocre self.
Oh, yeah. He was the older Simba.
Yes.
All right.
So, I mean, but the news about that is that it got 224 million views in a 24-hour time span, which is the second only to Infinity War's trailer.
Wow.
So that is insane.
So it was a little better received than the Aladdin teaser that we saw then.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, I agree.
But I just, the only thing that makes me wonder about that whole 224 million is I wonder about internet accessibility. Is it going up worldwide? I mean, it has to be.
Well, and everybody's on more platforms, so I don't know how the algorithm works. Like if somebody embeds it into a Facebook post and you watch it on Facebook and then you Google it and show it to your friend on YouTube, or you watch it again on Twitter or whatever, is it recording each view as a separate view versus taking the IP address and just using unique views, you know?
I have no idea. It's a good question, but either way, it makes for a good headline.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. So
yes. We got some other news. JK Simmons, who played Commissioner Gordon the one time, doesn't think that he's going to be coming back for that role anytime soon.
All right.
I'll miss him.
Yeah, really?
No, seriously. I love JK Simmons.
I love JK Simmons too, but I'm not going to miss him in that role because he didn't do anything.
That's true.
It's not a memorable performance that he had in the first,
He could have been fantastic.
Yeah, he could be great at everything he does. He's always great.
You know what's just the worst is we were going to get swole. We were going to get swole Commissioner Gordon. Did you see how ripped he got?
Yes, I did.
And there was not one shirtless scene, no biceps, nothing.
Note this, folks. Alex is really upset that he didn't see a shirtless
I'm upset for JK Simmons.
That's true.
He put in the work,
He might be a badass in some other role. You know what's funny, though? I think him as the newspaper editor guy, and I forget his name even, Spider-Man's boss, Peter Parker's boss.
Oh, right, J. Jonah Jameson.
Still one of my favorite performances ever.
He's amazing. He's absolutely
so good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There's a little aside, but somebody took his quotes from Whiplash, and they inserted them so he was a character on the sequel series to The Last Airbender.
Okay.
And so he played this character, and they just inserted his Whiplash dialogue of like, keep my tempo, what the fuck's wrong with you? All this shit.
God, he was so good in that too.
He's just, I love you, man. He's great as the dad in that. Yep. He's great as Juno. He's just great. So it is kind of a loss for DC to not have him be back.
We'll see what they do.
Yeah.
Period.
Just drop Batman. Can we just?
Yeah, but he's Commissioner Gordon.
He could be Commissioner Gordon for Superman.
He moves to Metropolis and he's the commissioner.
That's fine. That's a really dark Metropolis.
Because Superman really needs his assistance.
Probably. There was no distinguishing Metropolis and Gotham in that universe.
They were right across the bay from each other.
Sister cities.
Yes.
Ugh.
But yeah.
But let's see what else we got. 2 Sony Marvel movies are slated for 2020.
Now, we think, is one of them the vampire movie, or is that outside of this?
I think Morbius comes out next year.
Okay.
And so that means, guaranteed one is a Venom sequel.
Sure. Which we're all super excited for.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, you don't think Woody Harrelson's going to be great?
I don't think that they've learned any lessons. There was no lesson to learn from this. They were successful in making a bad movie that did really well.
And made a bunch of money.
Yeah. So, they might even just take this lesson and just do a DC. We can make shit and people will see it, so let's just go right into Sinister Six. That's the second one.
Well, so that wouldn't guarantee us. If they're doing a DC, they'll be smart, because Man of Steel was like relatively successful, correct?
Yeah.
And then Batman vs. Superman was really successful. Money-wise.
Not based on expectations, though.
No, it should have made more.
It should have made more.
But then they made Justice League, and it was not.
It just fell apart. Yeah.
Correct. So
because you can't burn a fan base forever.
So hopefully they know that they shouldn't do that.
I don't know. I don't have any faith. It's Sony. But, we can move on to something else. I don't really want to talk about Sony.
You don't want to talk about Venom for 2 hours?
God, I'm just so sick of it. I'm so sick of it.
If you want to hear how much we love Venom, go back and listen to that episode. It is.
I think I was quite mad. I think I was quite mad. I don't know. I don't know if I get mad on this.
It was bad. You knew what to expect.
Yeah. But we can move on to the next thing. There's a little bit of controversy with the Deadpool Once Upon a Time Christmas movie.
This is the guy who tweeted Ryan Reynolds the idea for this.
Yes.
Which they then made without contacting this guy? Or?
Yeah, he tweeted him like a year ago. This whole idea with the Fred or Ben Savage, whichever it is.
Ben Savage.
Ben Savage.
No, it's Fred, actually.
Okay. Always get those savages mixed up. Doing the whole, Princess Bride thing. And he came up with the whole thing.
So the premise of the movie, it's a PG-13 cut of Deadpool 2 with Fred Savage, I'm assuming, is going to be like laying in bed sick like he was in the Princess Bride.
But I don't think he's sick in this. He's literally the actor playing himself. Have you seen the trailer?
No.
Okay, yeah, he's himself playing himself as a full adult grown man, and Deadpool has literally taped him to the bed. And he's going to tell him the story of Deadpool too.
If I were doing this, I would have had Deadpool in the bed.
Oh.
And Fred would have been in the position of the storybook reader.
Okay.
But, that's why I don't make movies.
I like the idea of Deadpool is literally like, he's obsessed with like, I'm going to tell you my story.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty good.
And I'm going to make it PG-13.
Is it possible that the movie could be improved with a cut edited version of it?
I didn't like the movie, so I think there's a real possibility it could be improved.
All right.
I will say one thing that I really liked from the trailer was Fred Savage. It is Fred?
Okay. It's Fred.
I'm still very unsure. But Fred, he's like, I prefer Marvel movies. Deadpool's like, well, we are Marvel. And he's like, yeah, but licensed by Fox.
Yeah, look at that. See? Just using that fourth wall breaking goodness. Yeah.
And then he has like this, he's like, oh God, what does he say? It's like if the Beatles were produced by like, I don't know, like Chuck E. Cheese or something like that. That's what he said.
Fox's Marvel movies
That's what he said, yes.
Oh, I bet you love that.
I loved it. I was so on board with that. That was great. But one of the last pieces of news. Oh, well, I should finish that story. The guy who tweeted Ryan actually was he got tweeted by Ryan, and they had a conversation, and apparently it's all solved, and it was just one big misunderstanding.
So you think they paid him?
Yeah, there's no way.
If he has evidence of the tweet, I would agree.
That's too big of a coincidence in my book.
Right.
Like you came up with the exact thing that they're doing? No way.
And the guy's just going to say it's a misunderstanding.
Yeah. I got $100,000 for my misunderstanding.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
I would want more.
I would too, because it's going to make money. It's going to make a lot of money.
Shit.
So I find that so stupid. I'm just not a big fan of this in general.
Well, just the fact that they're going to make a bunch of money for something that just came out.
Yeah. For putting in probably a couple more $1 million to get Fred Savage.
Right.
But what else? Okay, so Paddington. You love your Paddington.
I do love Paddington.
The director is going to be doing a fantasy film called Time's Fool.
Okay.
And it's about this guy who is cursed to ride a train for all eternity, except for one night every 7 years where he gets to go into his hometown and he tries to unravel the nature of his curse.
Sounds fun.
It sounds insane.
Is it like a kid's movie, or is there no information on it?
That's all I know. That's sort of like the quote in the Variety article.
The fucking Paddington movies rule. So,
yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want him to make Paddington 3. So he
can do this in the interim.
Yeah, he better make Paddington 3.
Paddington doesn't
such
age.
A fun, lovable film, but the characters do. I mean, you haven't seen 2, right?
I haven't seen 2 yet.
Oh man, Knuckles McGinty.
That's a name?
Yeah, he's great. It's what's his name from Mr. Mercedes, the older Irish guy.
Right.
But yeah, he's great in it. Brendan Gleeson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You had to pull out the phone on that one.
He's Knuckles.
Yeah.
With an N.
That's
a line in the movie, yeah.
Oh.
Knuckles with an N.
See, I was just picturing Knuckles from Sonic running around in this movie, and I got really interested.
He's the prison chef for the prison that Paddington gets stuck in.
Oh boy.
Well, yeah, it's pretty good.
Does this Paddington movie have something to say about correctional facilities?
Sort of, yeah. Well, I mean, Paddington goes in there and it's a bunch of rough, assholes, and Paddington just turns them around. He just he sees the good in all, you know.
Hello, gentlemen.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea for a
But yeah, that
skit.
sounds interesting. And I like those 2 movies. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this because I do think the first Paddington is just lovely.
Yes, it's great.
So I have faith in this director.
Yeah.
But we can go to shit that we watched.
Well, first I want to mention Aquaman here.
Oh, right, Aquaman.
Aquaman apparently is good.
Yeah, we're getting good reviews on it.
Yeah, there's no full reviews yet.
Yeah, it's all Twitter
reactions. They've allowed the social media, reactions.
Yes.
And it sounds like it's good.
Yeah, and we're getting the same thing for the Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse one, too. They're getting Twitter reactions saying that might be the best Spider-Man movie in over a decade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So since Spider-Man 2, probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, Jesus. I mean, thank God Venom wasn't like the last taste people are going to get of superhero movies for this year.
Hey, so Sony might have made a good Spider-Man movie?
Yeah. By themselves.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and we've got, I mean... Isn't that the weirdest sentence you're going to say all day? We're getting a good Aquaman movie.
We're getting a good DC movie and a good Sony superhero movie in the same month.
That's insane.
Yep. 2 good superhero movies, neither of them Marvel Studios in the same month.
Wish I could have gone back and just placed a bet on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wonder what the odds would be of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm going to guess like 80s for Aquaman, Rotten Tomatoes, and 90s for the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. I think low 80s. Actually, I think low 80s for Aquaman and probably high 80s for Spider-Man.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I think that's it for news, really.
But yeah, shit we watched.
Yeah, what did you watch?
I watched this film on Netflix, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
That's right. I forgot to watch
from
that.
the Coen brothers.
Yes.
It's an anthology movie. It's got 6 little stories in about 2 hours, I believe. And it's fun. It's a fun movie to watch.
Yeah,
because they all hang around just long enough where like you're ready for the next one.
Right.
You know?
And this is a Western type deal, right?
All Western. All 6 are Westerns. There's one where it's like this singing jolly guy who like comes into town and he's like the best gunslinger and kills everybody. It's very gory.
Oh. And is he singing while doing this?
Yes. Oh, he's
good.
like it's just like a musical number he's got and everything.
That's lovely.
And then there's one where it's this old guy who's like digging for gold by this creek, like in the middle of nature. There's one where it's like a guy who's robbing a bank and he ends up getting, wakes up with a noose around his neck.
So it's just little vignettes of the Old West done in mostly humorous ways?
About half and half.
Half and half.
But it's the Coen brothers. So yeah, it's got, they all kind of have that weird, like dry humor.
Yes.
That sick, twisted humor.
I love it.
There's one, Liam Neeson's in one, where basically he is carrying around this guy who has no legs and no arms and going to these towns where this guy's telling stories. Like he comes and tells stories,
So he's like the CPR test dummy that they bring into your work.
Yeah, but he is this storyteller, and they put him on a chair in the back of this thing, and Liam Neeson just collects the money while this guy who's he must have been an actor or something before he lost his limbs, and he tells tales or whatever. So I'm going to spoil this one.
Liam Neeson has to wipe that guy's ass, just to let you know.
Yes, correct. That's the idea. Liam Neeson has to carry this guy around, basically do everything for him. And just to get the twisted nature of this, they go to a town and not many people come to watch the guy. And there's this other guy who has a chicken that if you say 7 + 6, the chicken will walk up to the number 13 bell and hit the bell.
Oh, my God.
So everybody's crowding around that. So what does Liam Neeson do?
Kill the chicken?
He buys the chicken, drives out of town with the legless and armless guy, and drops him into a creek and kills him. That's the end of that one. So yeah, it's great. It's really good. But that's just one of the stories as an example of what you can expect.
I would have kept both. You've got it's a 2-for-1 show.
Well, the one guy's just not getting you anything anymore. And you have, like you said, you have to, he goes into a whorehouse saloon at one point and has the guy, he has to carry the guy into the room while he bangs the hooker and
That's true.
It would be kind of a pain.
Is he really is he really banging a hooker?
Yes.
Or is he just lying there?
Who? No, that guy isn't.
Oh.
Liam Neeson is, but he can't just leave the guy behind. So Liam Neeson has this awkward scene
leave
where
him in the hall.
Well, no, he has him in the room, and he realizes before he starts having sex with her, he realizes oh, this is awkward, and he just goes and turns the guy around so he's facing the other direction. But this is what you can expect. And then there's one that's pretty long and dramatic. That's really good, really kind of sad and whatever, and they all have kind of a neat ending. I really recommend this. I'd give this movie a B+.
Were there any stinkers out of the lot, though?
The one at the end I wasn't a big fan of.
Okay.
Also had Gleason in it. Brendan Gleason.
Brendan Gleason,
yeah,
right.
He was in that as well. But no, it's got James Franco, Liam Neeson, got a bunch of people in there. It's good. Well worth a watch.
So another thing for Netflix.
Yes.
Another win for Netflix.
And then there's a loss for Netflix this week, too.
Oh, no.
A big loss. I watched the final season, the Kevin Spacey-less season of House of Cards.
Oh.
I couldn't stop watching it. I'll give it that. Because it does suck you in.
Train wreck kind of thing?
it sucks you in, and it's like, okay, but the problem is, and this has been going on in this show for a while, like people are getting killed left and right. It's like, come on. Like, this is supposed to be the president, like politics and shit. There aren't people being murdered left and right. I mean, maybe we just don't know about it, but I highly doubt it. Like,
yeah,
like,
all those Trump firings weren't firings.
Right. Yeah. They all got murdered. Yeah. Murdered. Right. So now, what's her name? Robin Wright has taken over. Claire Underwood has taken over for Frank. Frank died. That's how they start the season.
Right.
And the neat thing that they do is Frank kind of looms over the season, which is kind of like a meta thing where, because he is looming over the show.
Right,
you can't
that makes
help
sense.
it. You know what I mean?
Sense.
And I don't know. Have you watched this before? Like any
I've
of this?
watched a few episodes interspersely.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the characters, my favorite character, is Doug Stamper. He's like Frank's right-hand man. He's like super loyal, very twisted character, very weird, recovering alcoholic, but he's also just a nut. And he always was loyal to Frank. And in the show, like, he's concerned with the tarnishing of Frank's name.
Oh.
Because what's her name kind of starts dragging him through the mud and whatever. So you're kind of watching the show as him, which was kind of an interesting idea. Like, you feel like, okay, so his character is representing how I feel because I miss Frank. And I don't want this new lady telling me, talking to the camera like Kevin Spacey used to.
But at the same time, you're like, Kevin Spacey, kind of a monster.
Right. Well, but yeah, I mean, that's true. But I mean, I'm sorry, but I miss Frank Underwood.
Right.
I can't help it.
Right.
Frank always talked to the camera like in the middle of a scene.
Yep, I remember.
Claire does this now, and it's just kind of like,
it feels strange.
You're just not as good at it. I don't know, and she is good, but it has an ending that is terrible.
Nuclear war.
We don't get to that.
Oh.
They set that up.
Okay.
They like set up this nuke thing, and they set up this new family that's in the show.
That was literally the first thing off the top of my head.
They set all this shit up, and then it's one of those where like something goes down, like something happens, and none of that stuff gets resolved. It's just like a cut to black at the end of the show.
Oh God.
Like something big happens, but this is supposed to be a series finale.
They were trying to do like a Sopranos type thing.
Yeah, kind of. And it pissed me off because I stayed up all night watching this to get to the end.
Do you want to do spoilers?
Yeah, I'll spoil it.
Okay.
Fuck it.
Because I'm kind of curious as to what pissed you off so bad.
Doug Stamper, that you find out killed Frank, and he goes in to like kind of to talk to Claire, and Claire kills him, and then that's the end.
Okay.
So if you do bring it back, both of my favorite characters aren't in it anymore because Doug is by far to me the best thing about the show. It's garbage because the thing is, so Doug was like super loyal to Frank, like he was obsessed with Frank. Frank showed up and saved him from like an alcoholic stupor, and he got him sober. So he like owes Frank everything. So he kills Frank because Frank was going to kill Claire, and he didn't want Frank to ruin everything that Frank had worked for and done and his legacy, Yeah. So this felt like it was written in 3 days, and they shot it a week later.
I think you might be right because I threw out the nuke thing, and that took me 1 second.
I don't think it's the first time that's happened in the show either, where there was like a threat of nukes. But no, I don't want to completely badmouth it because, like I said, I couldn't stop watching it. It was good enough to keep me watching.
And Robin Wright is generally really good.
Yes, she is good. And Diane Lane is in this season.
Oh, okay.
Greg Kinnear is in this season. He's good. I was just overall, it was a shit show, and it's a shame that he was such a bastard and had to get canned from the show.
You almost, I do wonder with stuff like that, would it have just been better if you had just not done another season?
I think this is a classic case of they had a hit and they wanted to drag it out forever.
Yes.
And the last couple seasons with Frank weren't nearly as good as the beginning, because this, to me, this is like a rise and fall, like 3 or 4 seasons thing. And the show's called House of Cards, and the House of Cards never really fell at the end of the series.
It's a metaphor, Jackson.
Right, but the whole point of the House of Cards is that it's like you bump the table and it tips over.
But maybe we're the House of Cards.
Well, yeah, the people. That worked then, yeah.
The fans were the House of Cards and we fell down.
Oh, it was bad. But yeah, I don't know. Good job, guys.
Way to go.
Should have just made 3 or 4 seasons and had it been done.
Give you a big old pat on the back.
Other than that, though, I saw a lot of movies. I didn't watch much at home, so.
Yeah, I didn't watch like anything, so I have nothing. What's the first movie you want to go into?
Well, let me just real quick, I guess I'll just give my brief review of The Front Runner with Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
JK Simmons, Vera Farmiga. It's interesting because like you're watching it and you can't imagine a time where like this tabloid nonsense wasn't on everyone's mind, you know?
Right.
So basically the premise is he's a Democratic front runner for president. Gary Hart, he was a senator from Colorado. He gets caught in an inappropriate relationship with a girl from like Miami or something. And basically they run a story in like the Miami Herald or whatever. And now he has to deal with the fallout from that.
Right.
And it's weird because you can see all the parallels to now, but it doesn't try to like beat that over your head. You know what I mean? Like it's not, which I liked because you don't really need to.
Right.
But like the performances are pretty good. One thing it did that pissed me off though is it tried to be so realistic that it like hurt itself at times. Like you're in a room listening to a conversation, and if there's a TV on in the background, like it's playing at the same volume as the conversation.
You couldn't hear as well, right?
You couldn't hear the dialogue at times, which I thought was a dumb choice.
That is a dumb choice because it's about conveying the information to the audience.
But yeah, it's funny because I kind of like the Gary Hart guy is kind of played as a victim. Mm-hmm. But he did do this. But is it anyone's business? You know, that's the questions the movie raises, and it doesn't really answer them. It kind of lets you make your own mind up about it.
Which is kind of nice.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I do think in society where we are almost obsessed with the idea of hypocrites.
Yes.
You know, especially when it's like, oh, the other side said this, but really they do this. And there's a lot of that. You listen to anything.
All over the place, yep.
You listen to any political thing. I listen to Ben Shapiro sometimes just to, you know, I try to be as balanced as I can. Listen to both sides.
Without it making you sick. Well,
the thing that always gets me is like these people who say like, we need to lower the rhetoric. We need to lower the tone. But then they spend their whole show bashing the other side or calling the other side hypocrites. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, that's an interesting question.
Right.
And I'm glad that this exists for that, but it doesn't sound like it was that impressive.
It was okay. It was good. I mean, it wasn't great. I would give it like a B-, maybe a C+. I mean, I wasn't bored.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
that goes a long way.
Yeah, well, in a movie like this, too, where it is nothing but boardroom conversations and, you know, there's no, like, I guess the only scene that would be, like, exciting, I guess, would be when they catch him.
Yeah, which they kind of spoil in the trailer.
In the trailer, right. But no, like, Bill Burr is in it, which is funny.
I love Bill Burr.
He plays, like, the guy who, hey, you know, no, what do you mean? Like, you asked us to follow you, because that's the mistake he makes. He's doing an interview with like the Washington Post or something. And he basically says like somebody asks him about, because there had been rumors of him like adultery in his past or whatever.
Right.
And somebody asked him like, you know, how do you like, what's your stance on marriage? Blah, 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 blah. And he gets all outraged and he's like, if you want, just follow me. Just follow me. You won't see anything exciting. Like he said that. And then someone heard that and was like, well, fuck it. Let's just follow him then.
Wow.
And when everybody finds out, everybody else is panicked, and he's just like, oh, it'll blow over, because this whole tabloid thing was kind of new at the time. It wasn't this, you know. And I was thinking as I'm watching it, I'm like, you know, the 24-hour news cycle is brutal, but I feel like a story like this would go quicker because you're not just leaking out little bits of information every day in the newspaper.
Yeah.
I mean, people can only talk so much about catching this guy with a woman, and they didn't even catch him like sleeping with her.
It really depends on when this would have came out during the campaign. If it's early on, you got a real shot of it going away. If it's late, you're done.
Yeah, it's weird. Like nowadays, people just react differently. I remember when Gore and Bush had, like Bush, the day of the election or the day before, like some old DUI was released or whatever.
Yeah.
And people were just kind of like, fuck you. Like that's none of,
Right.
Like clearly we know what you're doing. And I feel maybe people have wisened up to that a little bit more. But I don't know. It was intriguing. Like I'm not going to say it was bad, but
there's stuff like that. But I mean, you know what? I'm not going to get into it because it's politics, and I'm just not going to do it.
But yeah, I mean, if you're into politics, if you're into this sort of thing, it's good enough. I mean, I like Hugh Jackman in pretty much everything. He's good in this.
Yep.
JK Simmons is good in this. Vera Farmiga's good in this.
Everybody's good. It's just not that good.
It's just okay. Right.
Yeah. But
are we going right into the good movie, the really good movie?
Let's go. Do we want to hold off? I don't know. How do we want to play this?
I feel like people like like hearing us talk about bad shit. So we'll save that for the end.
Okay. So a really good movie.
Yeah.
A really good movie that you liked a lot.
I loved it.
Green Book.
Green Book.
Yeah, some guy called over here, a doctor. He's looking for a driver. You interested?
I am not a medical doctor. I'm a musician. I'm about to embark on a concert tour in the Deep South. What other experience do you have?
Public relations.
Do you foresee any issues in working for a black man?
You in the Deep South? There's gonna be problems.
So how much did you love this, Jackson?
I loved it. It's an A.
I mean, I really liked it. Don't get me wrong.
I was a sucker for it, I'll admit.
I don't know if it's an A. It's definitely a B. Might be a B plus, but I'm not sure if I'd give it an A or an A minus.
I thought it was so good. It hit me at everything it tried to do, like to manipulate you into having feelings for the characters and everything. Just nailed it for me on every level.
Viggo Mortensen is amazing.
He is.
Mahershala Ali is fantastic.
Really good.
Yep. I mean, I'm going to go more into Viggo later, but Mahershala Ali, I mean, you watch this, you watch Moonlight, you watch, I mean, even Luke Cage. Dude's kind of a chameleon.
Yeah, he's good. I do have a nitpick on him on this.
Okay.
I don't feel like this was the first time I've seen him in like a comedic sort of performance.
Okay.
And I don't think he was that great at it. I mean, he was fine, but I guess that's just because Viggo is just killing it.
Right.
I mean,
well, Viggo is the more ridiculous of the two characters.
That's true. That's true.
Mahershala Ali is the straight man.
Right, but he's playing the straight man, and it's a little bit, I can see through it a little bit.
Right.
I can tell that's, I don't know.
I really liked both of them.
Their relationship was just great.
It's a odd couple road trip movie.
It reminded me of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That was what came to mind.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it. Do we want to give a little rundown on what it's about?
Sure. I mean, basically, Viggo Mortensen plays this like nightclub bouncer guy.
From the Bronx, Italian
From the
descent.
Bronx, yep. Heavily Italian. All of his friends are Italian. His whole community, everybody he associates with.
Yes.
The club is closing, so he needs a job.
Yep.
He gets a random call from, I forget what the name of the opera house or whatever. Ali's character lives above.
But yeah,
basically he gets called into this interview. And he's asked, "Hey, I'm a black man. He obviously doesn't say that. We can see that he's a black man. But I'm going on a tour of the Deep South.
Yeah.
And I need a driver.
Yep.
And I've heard from people that you might meet the requisite requirements and skills needed to do this." And so he takes the job, and that's the trip.
Yep.
They go on the trip.
Yep. And it's great. It's really, really good. I mean, it's heartwarming as fuck.
It really is.
They both have good arcs.
Yep. Obvious payoffs in the end, I think.
Obvious payoffs.
But I didn't care.
I liked that both of them got their payoffs at the end.
They did.
And it wasn't so, I mean, I'm going to just go into spoilers. I think I'm going to give it a B+.
Okay.
The thing I liked about the arcs is I liked that at the end, it wasn't that Mahershala Ali's character went and contacted his brother, which we set up earlier.
Sure.
It was the more immediate family sort of connection.
Yes.
It was the bigger payoff of going and seeing Vigo.
Right.
So I really liked that.
Yes.
Because they knew, like, because Vigo's payoff was actually in the nightclub, or not the restaurant.
The bar and restaurant scene.
Yeah, where he's like, no, you don't need to go on. That's the payoff.
That was so good.
That was great. It was fantastic. You had said on your Facebook that you think that, or no, you said this to me, that Vigo is now your front runner.
He's my favorite male performance of the year.
You think
that was?
I mean, he's definitely getting an Oscar nomination.
I think he'll be nominated for sure.
Is
he going to win? I don't know, but he's who I would pick based on what I've seen.
I'm watching it, and I'm watching it with that in mind, because you had texted me that before I saw it, and I was like, he's right. This is pretty fantastic.
He's so fucking good.
Because he just is this guy.
You know what? And can we give props to Vigo? I mean, he always is whoever he plays.
He's fantastic.
He's amazing. Right.
I don't think he's got an Oscar, but it is kind of a crime. It's actually more of a crime that he doesn't have an Oscar than Leo went as long as he did without getting one.
He's way better than Leo.
Yeah.
Now, that's a good point. That's a good point. Because if people were complaining about Leo not getting him, right, he was taking a fucking Oscar bait role every year.
Yeah.
I mean, he was. And Vigo, then can we move this to Vigo?
Right.
Can we get Vigo an Oscar?
Yeah. Eastern Promises, or not Eastern.
A History of Violence. Yeah, Eastern Promises. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of them.
I mean, Lord of the Rings, he was great in.
Yeah, he was good in those. Right.
I mean, do you know he actually wrote one of the songs that he sings in that?
No.
Yes. I mean, I was watching the special features on it. Dude is like a Renaissance man. Like, he paints, he hunts, he fishes, he sings, he plays music. I mean, he just does everything, apparently.
It was funny because I was watching this with the lady, and I look over at her at the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, God, this is going to sound bad, but I'm like, God, this is like a likable racist. Because he was at the beginning. He wasn't like the type. So the character I would compare this arc to was Sam Rockwell's character in 3 Billboards.
I still haven't seen it.
Only that's like a mean asshole racist who kind of turns it around. Whereas this guy's just like one of those, like, probably at the time was like a societal norm type racist.
You really got the idea that he was just an average guy, because everybody was doing the same thing.
They all kind of had their issues with whatever. There's a scene at the beginning that like hurt my feelings, kind of, just when the wife has some people over to fix some crap in the house, in the kitchen or whatever, and it's two black guys. Yeah, and he comes in, and she had given them water or whatever. Yeah, and he comes in and like secretively from his wife, like carefully picks up the glasses and just drops them in the trash can. Yeah, and you're like, oh wow, what an asshole.
Can we talk about Linda Cardellini too?
She was the wife?
She was the wife.
Yes.
I love her. She's just great. I mean, she played, Hawkeye's wife, and she was also in that, what was it? Not Dazed and Confused. That show from the 90s, early 2000s, James Franco and Seth Rogen were in it about the...
Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks.
I never saw that.
She's great in it. Okay. She's great in it.
Yeah, she was really good.
Yeah. I like her. I like her a lot. The scene where she's reading the letter that Vigo, had written, and she's actually kind of tearing up. Right. I'm like, oh, this is great. She's just.
What else was great on that note was when she reads one of them out loud, and the one's wife, I want letters, and he's like, make dinner when you make dinner first, or whatever.
That was great. That was great. I loved at the end that she knew that Mahershala Ali's character actually wrote it.
Perfect. It was.
And it also makes sense because, I mean, if we're going to be honest, in society, more often than not, women tend to be, in the couple, they tend to be the more open, the less sort of racist. So she was fine.
I would agree. They're not up ready to fucking, be mad about something.
Right. So it was nice that she was fine with black people.
Yes.
And it was Viggo who had to learn, but they play it in a way where, like you said, he's likable because he's a likable guy, but you clearly see that he thinks wrongly.
He has prejudices, but he doesn't seem to like openly hate.
He's ignorant.
You know what I'm? Yeah, right.
He's never been exposed to the culture.
But yeah, so that's what's great about the movie is that basically they go on this road trip, and I mean, you can all guess what it's about. Basically, he starts to, really befriend this guy, and they have their back and forths,
and they both learn something from each other.
Right. Well, my favorite scene in the movie that almost made me cry is the scene. There's a bit of it in the trailer where he basically says, like, look, because Ali, the actor Ali, I'm not even Mahershala Ali is he's like kind of a sophisticated guy.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't fit the standard trope of like the black person at the time or even today, whatever.
Right. Highly educated.
Right. So basically they have this fight where Viggo's basically saying like, I'm more black than you. Like you don't even know what kind of food your culture likes.
You live up in your mansion or whatever. I live in the streets.
And they get into this fight where basically he explains to Viggo like, look, I don't belong in the white world. Like I can't use their bathrooms. I can't do anything.
Yes.
They look at me as this like, whatever. And I don't belong in the black world. Like where am I, where do I belong?
Yeah.
And that was just like powerful shit.
It was so fantastic. It took me back. I took a class on ethnicity in college, and we were talking about, it was great. We studied it through studying gangster films.
Okay.
And gangster novels. So we like the Consigliere in The Godfather.
Okay.
He is like Polish. He's a Polak, but he's part of this Italian family.
Sure.
He's adopted. But he'll never be able to rise the ranks in this Italian culture but he is probably more Italian than some other Italians in that neighborhood because of the way he was raised. But he can never be.
He never belongs anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here.
Oh, God, it was so good. And the way that it was handled, too, because it wasn't like this thing where Viggo's immediately like, oh, I'm sorry, and they make it this. It's just kind of, he's just quietly like.
Yeah. Well, I
don't know what to say.
And that's where I'm watching Mahershala, and he was great throughout the whole movie, but that scene was
he's amazing as far as a dramatic actor.
Yeah.
I think he's amazing.
Yeah. But I loved both of the characters. And they do just little scenes, like the scenes where he sees the black people in the field and the car breaks down. And it's that whole, like they're looking and they see the white guy fixing up the car while the black guy waits. And then the white guy's driving the black guy. And they're just
shocked.
They're shocked. And they kind of give him like a look of almost disgust. And he's so uncomfortable. And that's setting up the scene that you're talking about. The whole
goddamn movie, he's like uncomfortable no matter where he is.
Yes.
It is really good. Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I hated him or anything. Another thing that I liked, too, back to that concept was it's so easy to have the scene where the cops pull him over.
Yes.
And they're an asshole.
And they had that scene.
They had that scene. And then later in the movie, I was like, fuck, again? Like, I don't want this to happen to these guys. And you have the cop who's like, no, I just noticed your tire was fucked. Yeah. And I'll help you fix your tire and send you on your way.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Amazing.
Yeah. It was
amazing.
Great. It was great because they actually ended up having... It could have been very easily like, oh, look at these terrible people in the South. Look at the terrible cops. Look at just everything is awful. But no, they tried to go a little bit more nuanced. And that was really appreciated.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. They had like every level of prejudice in the movie. Like even the cops who did fuck with him.
Yeah.
You've got the one cop who's just a fucking prick. And then you have the other cop, which I would imagine was a ton of people at the time who were just like, look I'm just going along with this.
Well, yeah, because he's the one who's like, well, look, I could just get his ID through the window. No, you get that boy out of there.
But
it's just awful.
Yeah, I'm sure there were people who were just like, I'm just trying to go home and fucking, this is the society I live in.
Yep.
And it's bad that he does it. Clearly.
I also noticed that it was the younger of the two cops.
Right. Yeah.
And that tends to be how it is like we've said before.
Yeah.
A society becomes less racist, less prejudiced over time.
Every generation, I would guess. Right.
And so, yeah, I liked it. I liked it all.
But yeah, it's totally got the planes, trains, and automobiles feel where you have like the straight man, Steve Martin, and the wacky, goofy guy.
Yeah.
It cannot be understated how well he played that. I mean, he was so charming and hilarious. Like, all the line deliveries were great. There was another scene.
Gotta watch out for those krauts.
Yeah.
By the way, he's talking about a Russian character when he says
right.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or the you have a very narrow-minded view of me and my people or whatever. And he's just like, I'm good, aren't I? It's great. And then another scene that got me, and this movie's just filled with scenes that got me because I was just manipulated into just eating this up all the way through the movie.
It was great.
Was when his friend bumps into him in the hotel, and he's he secretly plans a meeting with them at the bar downstairs. And Mahershala Ali, thank you very much.
Yeah.
You are our resident ethnic namesayer.
That's
I
all right.
can't do it. He says it as he's coming out. He's like waiting, and he's like, "Look, I'll double your money. Don't take their offer, whatever." And he's just like, "Look, man, I made a deal with you. Like,
I'm not going back out.
I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. Don't worry about it."
And this is after Vigo catches, or not catches, but he gets a call from the cops who caught Mahershala.
Yes.
Doing gay things.
Yes.
Which to me, I was almost like, this is almost unbelievable for the time for Vigo to be this okay with homosexuality.
He's getting paid.
Yeah. But still, I was shocked that he was okay with it.
It was interesting because I was worried when that happened because I'm like, okay, is this going to become like the new thing of the movie?
Yeah.
But it really didn't. Like, it was just a thing that happened.
Yep.
And we all know. And yeah, it didn't matter.
Yeah, it was really good. I liked so much. I mean, the outhouse scene was great.
Oh God, yeah. Refuses to use the outhouse.
I mean, it really just you just respect the shit out of Mahershala Ali's character.
Right.
I mean, to go into such a hostile area and do what he did and put on a fake smile.
And it is interesting how they kind of meet in the middle. Like he's probably he gives in too often throughout the beginning of the movie, but then kind of Vigo like brings him around to be like, no, stick up for yourself.
Fuck them. You do what you want. Dude, Vigo was great.
He really was.
I mean, he clearly put on weight for this. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Vigo look more ugly in his entire life. He looked awful to the point where I was like, no way is somebody as beautiful as Linda Cardellini is with Vigo.
Hey, he's a nice guy.
He is.
He's a very funny, nice guy.
Yeah, but there were, and I sort of was racking my brain.
List the nitpicks, Alex. Let's hear them.
I saw the rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It was at like 81 or 82%.
Shocking to me.
And I was racking my brain. It's like, what could the critics have not liked in this? And so there was one part that I didn't think of until like the next day, which was, so he's talking about, you have a very narrow view of my people.
Sure.
Because he doesn't like fried chicken and all these and all these things. And then I sort of realized, well, it's kind of weird because, and I don't know how, because these are based on real people.
Yep.
This is a real story. But this Viggo Mortensen character, Tony the Lip.
Tony Lip.
Not
Lip. Tony the Lip.
Yeah, that's right. They
get it right.
That's right. But Tony is like a stereotype of the Italian Bronx culture.
Sure.
So I was like, maybe that bothered some of the critics. It didn't really bother me, though it was interesting that we have Mahershala Ali, who is just the antithesis of a black stereotype for the time, especially for the time. But Tony is a complete stereotype, almost.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever. Sorry, but there's people like that, I'm sure.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And
right.
and the whole point was like, you got to learn more about who he really was.
Right.
Which isn't just the tough guy throughout the course of the movie.
I love his stuff about being a bullshitter.
Oh,
and he's not a liar.
Amazing.
He's not a liar. He's a bullshitter.
And I don't know what that means.
Yes. Oh, God.
Oh, the whole letter writing thing was great. The Pittsburgh bit was great.
Where he's like, I've had one thing that bothered me the whole trip, Doc. What's that? That Pittsburgh thing really didn't pan out. That was awesome. I was not expecting it at all. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was good.
It was a new holiday classic.
That's what's funny is I wasn't expecting a holiday movie.
Yeah.
But it's a Christmas movie.
And I really felt the Christmas spirit at the end.
100%.
Because
100%.
it's all about, goodwill towards man.
Yes.
All of this stuff. Bring people into your family.
The ending was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with John Candy knocking on Steve Martin's door. And Steve Martin inviting him into his home. Yeah. And I love how accepting they were.
Yes.
And
it was kind of funny, too, because one of his friends says, and I've never heard this, but they called black people eggplants.
Yes, that's new to me, too.
I guess it might have been a cultural thing. But I think one of his friends calls him an eggplant, calls the doc one, and
he gets
Tony's just like, hey, don't call him that. But it's just that. It didn't turn into a big scene. They were just like,
no.
And it made sense because I'm like, well, Tony's a tough guy. Like, if you wanted to.
Well, and I don't think any of these people are like frothing at the mouth racist. They're just like, this is just culturally how they've treated them. When he shows up, it's not, they're all welcoming.
They do.
You know what I mean?
They are.
It was interesting. It was good.
There was that part that made you sick right at the beginning, though.
With the glasses?
Well, with the glasses, that was really bad.
That was bad, yeah.
But even before that, where Tony wakes up and all of his friends are watching the baseball game, they're like, oh, we're here to keep your wife company.
Oh, yeah.
And you see the two black guys, and you're like,
oh, Jesus Christ.
This is a bit much. But yeah, great movie.
It was.
B plus.
It should be. Hopefully people are seeing it.
Apparently not many.
No,
so
of course not.
That's sad. But it was a really big weekend for movies.
And it probably wasn't as expensive of a movie.
I don't think it really got a big push for advertisements either. So
no, I bet you that it'll do fine.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah. So we'll go to the next movie, Creed 2.
Okay, Creed 2.
He broke things in me that ain't never been fixed. It ain't worth it.
It's not just us anymore, Dave.
I want to rewrite history.
If you want to fight this man, that's your business. But don't pretend this is about your father.
This here is all about my wife, my kids, the life that I live. Through the night, I was his, it was right.
I really liked this movie.
I figured you would.
I was really surprised at how much I liked it.
It was good.
I did have problems with it, though.
Sure.
It's clearly not as good as the first.
No, it's not. The thematic, like the whole, and you can't have Rocky having cancer in every movie.
Yeah.
But the powerful emotional punch in that first one and Sylvester's performance that came out of that was ridiculously good.
Well, Stallone was fantastic in the first one. There were more interesting shots in the first one.
Yeah, there was the one fight that was like a one shot, single take fight. Yeah.
It was just more artistic as far as cinematography goes. And then even Creed, Adonis's story was more interesting in the first one.
I would agree.
He's this underdog coming into so better movie, but still, this was pretty damn good.
Can't ask for much more in a sequel. It was fun.
Yeah.
I loved the Dragos.
The Dragos were
amazing.
Impressive.
Yes. And the whole family dynamic with his wife showing up, his wife left him and it completely ruined his life. You're sitting there wow, I kind of feel bad that I was such a Rocky guy in the fourth one.
Yep. Well, yeah, because they get exiled to Ukraine. That's the basic premise is that the Dragos are back. Ivan Drago has a son, and he wants to kick the shit out of Creed.
He's a badass.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. He's a monster.
Yeah, he's huge.
You watch it, and you're like, this dude is going to destroy Creed. I mean,
it's just like every other Rocky movie.
But yeah, but it's also, it's like, how are they even in the same weight class?
Yeah. Well, how was Ivan fighting Rocky?
That's true.
I mean, he was a monster.
Yeah. And so it's, it's the guy who killed Creed's father versus, Creed's son.
Right.
Son versus son. And, but that's a very sort of basic premise. I feel like they actually do some more interesting things with it that I wasn't expecting.
Well, what's funny is like Rocky IV is like an admittedly cheesy, like the U.S. wins the Cold War through a boxing match, basically.
Yes.
That's like the premise. And this one doesn't disrespect Rocky IV, even though it's aware of how cheesy and ridiculous it was.
They really just basically take the events from it.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
Well, everyone know, like, if you're a fan of Rocky or movies in general, you know the basic bits of like, I will break you and all that shit.
That scene where Dolph Lundgren shows up to Rocky's restaurant.
Yeah, it's great.
Is fantastic. I didn't know Dolph Lundgren could be that great of an actor.
He was really good in this.
He was.
Yeah.
Both in the speaking Russian lines and just English.
Yeah. It must have just been a trip for those two.
Right.
Did
you know that Dolph Lundgren has like an MIT doctorate or something?
No.
Apparently the dude's like a genius. You never know looking at him, but man,
don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, but his son is intimidating. But I also love they have the dichotomy between Stallone and Jordan, who are kind of like a father-son kind of thing.
Yep.
And you've got the Dragos, and they've got their son dynamic, and it's really interesting to see how each father, quote unquote, treats their son.
Well, it's funny because I understand why the Dragos are doing what they're doing. They're not evil. They're just trying to regain acceptance from the Russians.
Yeah.
Basically, if he wins the fight, they'll be let back into the family, the quote unquote family.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, they're just going to be pariahs forever.
Yeah.
So you just feel bad for them, really.
Yeah. And, I mean, it was weird. What do you want to give it for a grade?
I will give it a B.
I'm going to give this a B+ also.
All right.
I haven't seen an A movie in a while, but I've been
Green Book's an A, people. Stop it.
It's pretty close. It is pretty close. It's about as close as I'll get to not giving an A to a movie that deserves an A.
But no, okay, nitpicks. Right. I've got nitpicks.
Go for it.
All right. The fucking scene, and it's funny because I'm going to point to specific scenes, not like ongoing issues with the movie. Mm-hmm. The scene where she's singing in the nightclub and like the guy's like, oh, your girl, she got a good voice. It's like it's a fucking auto-tune track that the actor is clearly lip syncing over. It pissed me off. It was annoying. and then there was a scene where the first fight between Drago and Creed.
Yes.
She comes out like singing her song in front of him. Like,
no, that's the second fight.
Is it? Is that the end?
It's to signify that they're a team now.
Oh, whatever. It's fucking terrible.
I actually liked it.
It was I was sitting there like I got the douche chills when I was watching it.
I mean, it was a bit much. And it did seem a little self-indulgent, I guess you could say. Like they're a self-indulgent couple.
Well, but you've got the laser light show
going on. But at the same
on.
time, I liked it because it was the payoff for, we're just going to do spoilers.
Yeah.
It was the payoff for the idea that he took the first fight without ever consulting her, not caring what anybody thinks. And here it's like, no, we're a team. If we're going to do this, we're going to be a team. They even say that. So, I mean, I fully understood as a audience member.
It's fine. It just looks stupid.
It was a bit much. It was
just like, and just in general, her singing performances in both of these movies, I'm not impressed with the way they're done.
Better than what they were in the first movie.
Okay.
The first movie had, I was surprised at how awful her music was in the first movie.
Yes. Well, no, it was funny because in the first movie, the romance did nothing for me. It was like the one part of the plot that I didn't care much about.
It probably was the least interesting thing.
And then in this one, I thought it was good. I thought Felicia Rashad as Creed's mother was great in this. That whole conversation was good.
Tessa Thompson was
good. Yeah.
She's always good. I mean, in all honesty, it's a really good cast.
Yes, I would agree.
And I mean, they're basically Rocky movies all over again.
They're Rocky movies.
But
hey,
they're good.
If it ain't broke, there's a reason why people love Rocky. Because how could you not like a story like this? It's just a good old-fashioned classic story.
So I want to say one of the things I really liked, which was I liked the idea of Creed has to box. It's what he does. He can't not do it. And, you know, his wife is like, why are you going to be doing this? Blah, whatever. And, you know, he says something along the lines of like, what would you be worth to anyone if you weren't making your music? You know, he's like, I have to handle this the right way.
That's how we feel about this podcast.
Yes. Yes. That's how much you all mean to us. But yeah, I mean, it is something. I think we all have that. There's something in our lives that we know that if we weren't doing it, we probably wouldn't be.
Yeah, or didn't have something to be passionate about. You're right.
Yeah, and I really liked that. It was finding the reason why to fight was a good and the proper reason to fight.
I agree. What did you think of the fact that, like, the baby might be deaf?
Oh, that was heartbreaking.
But it's funny because, like, I expected more of a, like, but if it is, we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. It's still our child, and we love it, and blah, blah, blah.
And that's why Rock asks him the way he asks him, which is why...
That was good. That was good, the whole, but what if it's not all right?
Yeah.
He's like, it's going to be all right. Well, what if it's not? You need to be ready.
I can't think like that. Yeah. And it was great because, to me, it was like Creed actually got, like, you know, the whole I will break you thing. He did break Creed.
Yeah.
He broke, like, he was having PTSD, basically.
Yeah. Well, okay. I think this is going to be hot take.
Okay.
I think Drago should have won.
It was really funny. I was thinking sort of something similar earlier on in the movie before he said that I have to handle this the right way speech.
Okay.
Because I was like, well, thematically, you could have him basically lose the match and or even forfeit it because it actually means more to the Dragos than it does to Creed.
For sure.
And it could have served both of them by he gives up the belt because he's like, you're better at this.
Yeah, but he has to fight him because if he just gets the belt that way, that's not going to get him in. He's got to beat some American ass.
Right. But at the same time, he could have done it, and he could have still fulfilled his arc by realizing that his daughter and his wife are the real important things in his life.
Well, and you set up Creed 3.
Yeah.
I mean, like, to me now, I don't know what you do next.
I really don't.
Yeah. So I think that you should have had...
It's the death of Rocky is the next one.
Ooh, I don't even want to think about that.
I'm
the character's too important.
I'm calling it.
I love Rocky. I don't even want to think about him dying.
Calling it.
I'm so sad he didn't win for the first Creed, the Oscar. I really wanted Stallone to win.
Really did.
Yeah.
He was great.
You just made me sick and depressed. Because you're right. I mean, you have to do it at some point.
It's a Creed trilogy, and Stallone does not have too much time left.
But I think that you could have had like an arc with these guys because it's funny because I think it would have been really surprising to the audience when you had Drago win.
Yeah.
And then, like, the audience isn't that upset about it. Like, I wouldn't have been that upset. I would have been like, oh, well, good for him.
I really liked the last fight. I thought it was great.
Yeah, they do a nice job in these fights nowadays, too, in these movies.
The boxing was really good.
It is.
Because, like, the hits, it's like...
It's not the old, like...
yeah.
You know...
See, that's why we have the pop filters.
Oh, there we go again. I did it this time. But yeah, I'm that would be something I would do. I mean, I get it. I still like the movie, but I wanted.
Right. I mean, just going to list a couple more things I liked, but I want to get to a couple things I didn't like. I liked the training montage. I mean, it's a Rocky movie. You have to have a good training montage, but I liked it. I liked the fact
it wasn't as good as the training montage in the next movie we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Not even close. Not even close. Doesn't even touch it. But I mean, I liked it. It was a good training montage. I like the fact that Stallone sets up this whole thing of like your natural style would not be good against this guy. That's why you lost originally. And that was great. You know me, I love when fights integrate some sort of strategy or, so that was good.
Yeah, well, and these are classic for their like, okay, you have the big bruiser who fights like a lunatic versus the, quick little guy.
Yes. So structurally, there was one problem I found, which was the first fight between Drago and Creed. Creed is going to lose. It's just too early in the movie for a fight.
No. And the way it happened, too, it would have been better if I guess you break the rest of the movie if he just wins outright, right? Because he'd be let back into the Russian and he doesn't need a rematch or whatever.
Yes. So you just knew what was going to happen there. So that was a problem. Max Kellerman and the announcers.
Awful.
The announcers and all the sports shit in this tear it all out.
Awful.
All of it needs to go.
I'm so glad you said Max Kellerman. It's funny. I forgot I wrote notes in this movie. I actually wrote notes for this one. I rarely do that, but I will share one of my notes here, which is Kellerman stinks.
Great notes.
And he goes up there and he's like, when he interviews Drago, and he's like, how do you, after that controversial loss to Creed, it's just like,
what a loss.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was really like, it was cringe inducing.
It was just too much. And like they did like the whole, like during the final fight, and they would even say things like, Creed has won his title or whatever. This means so much. He has built his legacy. And you're just like, this is awful.
Well, he can't act.
I get it all. That's the real. Take Max out as far as like he can't act. Take that out entirely. Even if it was somebody who could act, it's the mere fact that the movie is telling you things that you don't really need to know.
They've done it in the past.
Yeah, they have.
And it does bother me. It's funny because I brought up House of Cards. Yeah. And one thing they do in that show is they have like CNN. They must have made a deal with CNN. So like Jim Acosta's in like a scene and you're just watching it. You're like, you guys can't fucking act.
Really funny. I heard an ESPN ringtone while watching this movie.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. But stop that.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, just get like, we know that Max Keller, these people don't exist in the same universe as our Max Kellerman, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, get a different guy. Just get a real actor, but also just cut most of those lines. I agree. I hated it.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm really glad
that was the big thing in it.
What did you feel about the break you line being used like 3 or 4 times? Like, hey, remember, get it? I said it. Break you.
In all honesty, didn't mind it.
It does it for you.
It was good. I mean, you've got good performances that are selling it. That's the big thing.
From a filmmaking perspective, there was one interesting thing they did where Creed is like, he's in a pool.
Oh yeah,
and Tessa Thompson is talking to Felicia Rashad or whatever, and they're having a conversation. And when he goes underwater, their conversation gets muted by the water.
That was kind of.
I liked it.
It was kind of cool.
It was weird, random little shit like that you pick up. And I took a note. I wouldn't remember that. See notes.
Yeah, that was good.
That's something good. It was good.
I saw this, and it was a mostly packed theater.
Okay.
And there were. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad. There were a lot of African American people there.
Sure.
And I was actually sitting next to a young son, probably about 10 or 12, sitting with his dad. And this is a perfect father and son movie.
Yes, I would agree.
Perfect. To the point where the little kid was so into it at the end fight. When Creed would land a punch, he'd be like, "Yeah, come get some." And it was not.
It didn't bother you.
It didn't bother me.
You were like
at all.
into it.
I was like, "Yeah, kid, let's do this." I was pumped.
Yeah, they do a nice job.
But I mean, it was so heartbreaking about the kid. It was, with the kid being deaf. And then the whole fear of Tessa Thompson going deaf, which I don't know if it's a flaw, but I was like,
they're not really dealing with it.
They didn't deal with it in this one, so it was sort of weird. It's almost like you are setting it up for a trilogy, and that's the setup for the next movie. But in this movie, it's never really dealt with.
Right.
So, and also I was like, oh, kind of would have been cool if like maybe Creed didn't find out about it. You know, like maybe he's so wrapped up in his own shit that he didn't find out that like it was getting worse. But they dealt with that right away with the whole marriage proposal thing. So I was like, oh, well, you kind of robbed that of some narrative, you know, potential. But it was really good. Still B+. Now we get to the real meat and bones
of the podcast.
Of life, really. Robin Hood.
You were a lord, but now you get to be a thief. And I'm going to show you how. Shoot me. Please. You have to be a warrior. Fast as you can.
So what'd you think, Jackson?
This is a bona fide F.
Yeah.
It's broken. It does everything I hate. Every, like, you can't find something this movie did that I was like, oh, that's neat.
Nope. Not one.
The narrative is terrible. I hate the wedging in and beating over your head of like current political topics that they try to do. It's like, come on, this isn't the movie for that.
We'll come back to that. I have a slight disagreement with that one.
Well, yeah, they try the whole like Brexit / Trump thing.
They sort of do. I didn't.
Well, right at the beginning of the movie. I mean, come on. The scene where he's like doing the whole speech and like the two characters that you happen to be named characters are the ones that yell out like, hey, like, they're people too, or whatever.
Oh,
you know,
right.
That was the scene for me. That was like, this is just ridiculous.
The problem with it is actually, you're actually kind of right. There was a political message there, but it actually would have been much, much worse back in the day. He would have been out there spouting like terribly racist rhetoric about how like they're dirty sand people or whatever, and like they're all heretics or whatever. You know, or not heretics, but you know, God, what's the word? Non-believers, I guess. Whatever.
I mean,
you know, they'd be saying much worse things.
It was one of those movies where everything it tried to do, it did it on the most base, childlike level, where there's no nuance to anything whatsoever. It's all just like blatantly on the nose bullshit.
Yep.
And you're just watching it like, who are you? This has to be for like 7-year-olds.
We're going to go into a full diagnosis of this movie. So I actually did some research. This movie cost $100 million to make.
Same as that Mortal Engines movie coming out.
Can you believe that this? I mean, I
can't believe it.
Where did the money go?
I can't believe it. Didn't we review our first episode ever? Our awful pilot episode. We reviewed Annihilation. Wasn't that like 20?
20 or 30. Yeah.
I don't know what
a movie that looks that amazing, and then you've got this giant pile of shit.
Everything looks like a set. Every fucking thing looks like either a computer generated, like the Vista scenes look like fake computer generated like landscapes, and the fucking scenes like in houses or in the castle or in the church looks like a cheap set made of cardboard to me.
Yeah. So $100 million budget. It's at $24 million worldwide right now.
Ooh, that's nice.
$15 million in the U.S., and this came out on Wednesday.
Has this opened in China yet?
I don't know. That's going to save it though. God
I know.
Damn it, Jackson! You had to say it. It probably is.
It was made by like a Hong Kong company.
It was.
It's one of those.
You're right.
Yeah, it is. That's what this is.
Fuck. You're right.
We might get Robin Hood too.
My God. So. This is the director's first feature-length film released in theaters.
Sure.
And the screenwriter, which I'm actually going to go out and actually name. Normally I wouldn't do this, shit on somebody's shitty movie. But Ben Chandler is the script writer, screenplay writer.
Tell us about him.
First script ever.
It shows.
It's awful.
It is broken on every level.
It starts out with narration. And narration is something that is it's a literary tool, but you got to use it properly. You don't use a hammer to screw in a light bulb. You don't use narration when we can infer this all from what's happening on screen, or if your character is reliable. You want to use it when, I can't get all this information. Or it's a character narrating it, and I'm learning something about the character, like, oh, they're insane, and they see a world in a really weird way.
Yeah, I thought they were going to go for like a storybook thing where like you would have chapters and there would be like a guy kind of like taking you through the journey. That was the only thing I could think of. No, that's not what it does at all.
Not at all.
It's just a weird narration that opens it. We open our story with the thief, or this is a story about a thief.
But it actually starts with a different thief.
Yes,
and then
that's what it says.
And then we see said different thief breaking into other thieves' barnyard. This movie is awful. So we go from there. We spend 2 minutes, maybe not even 2 minutes. We spend 1 minute and 30 seconds setting up the Maiden Marian and Robin of Locksley's romance.
They're basically like having sex all over the castle.
Yeah, look at us.
Yeah,
just a bunch of bunnies.
Good-looking folk who
have their modern haircuts and somewhat modern clothing.
Yeah, everyone looks like they're from 2018.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the letter comes and he's sent off to the Crusades.
Yep.
And it becomes Robin Hood down as we go to Afghanistan, where everybody's wearing different armor than what you would expect and running around with their bows like they're fucking machine guns.
Yep.
And they're in the Middle East now.
They have like a special bow and arrow like device that's like a turret.
Yes.
And it feels like a fucking World War II or like a Vietnam movie or something.
It's awful. It's Call of Duty via Robin Hood.
It is.
It's garbage. They're not wearing like appropriate clothes for the time, which really bothers me here because I'm like, dude, they had chainmail that covered their, like, everybody's running around like sleeveless here. And I'm like, if you got cut, this is where like chainmail existed, so to protect your arms. And they ran around with like the full-on like Crusader gear with like the white cloak and the red cross.
And the Afghani troops were basically like foot soldiers or something.
Yes.
They were like had the blue robe.
They could be timely because they're different.
Isn't it funny though how like we watched Lawrence of Arabia for an episode,
right,
and it's like that is more convincing war scenes. By miles.
It's not even close.
Yeah. And it's like you have everything you could make. We probably should get into this at the end, but there's no reason why you can't make a good Robin Hood movie.
Right.
I mean, you could make a fucking awesome Robin Hood movie.
I'm just watching it, and it's just the logistics of it. It's like, okay, well, if you're inside a city, more often than not, those people would be running around with swords.
Yes.
Because if somebody runs in and you have a bow and arrow, which is something that somebody here comes across, it's not going to go well for you if they have a sword or a knife and they get in close.
Think about the first battles, that scene you're talking about. Like, think about their strategy, their military strategy. Let's come out into, we're basically coming into an unknown land. Let's come through this little doorway.
Yeah.
And it's just the whole thing is such contrived nonsense.
It's awful. I mean, we haven't even gotten into like the meat and bones of why it's terrible. I was right. It is Batman Begins via Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, it's Kingsman, Batman Begins, like something, amalgamation of garbage.
Like I said, there's no emotional core. So Robin of Locksley has no emotional investment. His investment is that Maiden Marian thinks that he was dead.
Correct.
So she moved on.
He can't. So basically, he comes back from war, and the sheriff of Nottingham has pronounced him dead
and seized all his assets.
For the war effort.
Yes.
But But the problem is, so he can't tell Maid Marian he's alive because Jamie Foxx's nonsensical character that makes no sense in this movie.
Yeah.
He says, if you tell her you're alive, then you're risking her life.
But then
she finds out like fucking 30 minutes later or 20 minutes later into the movie or something, and it doesn't matter at all because she doesn't know he's Robin Hood.
Right.
Nobody knows he's Robin Hood.
Yeah.
The whole movie is built on this.
Yes.
That he's back and he's going to be like a Batman type character who does shit masked.
Yeah.
And while he's doing that, he's also going to play the playboy, like rich character who gives away the money that he shouldn't have because all of his assets are seized. And that the bad guy can't figure out that he's Robin Hood, even though he took all of Robin's money.
Yeah.
He took all of his money, but now he's walking around like a rich guy, and he showed up at the same time as the Hood.
Yeah.
But nobody puts it together. Nobody puts it together. In
I
the fucking
hated
movie.
everybody putting up the hoods when he would do something.
Oh yeah, the symbol. It's a symbol.
It looks so stupid.
It's
like
a
I don't think
symbol.
anybody realized how silly it looked.
It's a symbol, Alex.
Yeah, it was awful.
It looks just as cool as a bat or a Superman
Not even close.
logo.
Not even close. It really was awful. And also, I know it's a little bit of a nitpick, but I'm like, it's so iconic to put him in the green. Just put him in a green suit. It's like the thing he's known for.
He should look like Green Arrow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, really, actually, let's just backtrack this a little bit.
Oh, wait,
he should look like Robin Hood.
Yeah, no, but he will in the next one because now he's going to be in the forest, so he'll have to blend in with the forest.
Garbage. This movie has the audacity to beg for a sequel.
Oh, it sets it up. Like, so the Sheriff of Nottingham we thought was the Sheriff of Nottingham isn't the Sheriff of Nottingham.
False.
The real Sheriff of Nottingham is going to be
Two-Face.
the next guy. Yeah, Two-Face. Right.
50 Shades of Two-Face.
His turn, by the way, to evil
makes no sense.
He's that selfish of a prick where it's like, oh, my girlfriend is in love with Robin, who she was with and was the love of her life before I ever showed up.
Yep. I guess I'll turn into the thing that I was fighting against the entire movie right now on the spot because I saw them kissing.
Yeah.
Because cheating's a bitch.
Yeah, so Robin came back. I don't know if we got to this or not.
This is going to be messy.
Yeah, this is going to be, well, it's a messy movie.
Yeah.
But no, so Robin, when he came back, not only could he not tell her that he was back.
Yeah.
But
even
he
though everybody
also found out that while he was presumed dead, she had started a relationship with this other guy.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey's Jamie Dornan.
That's who that is?
Yeah. Yep. I feel bad for him.
Does he play Grey? Does he play Christian Grey?
I've never seen him, but yeah, I recognized him.
I hope to never see him again.
It's not his fault.
It was all their fault. It's a group effort. This movie was garbage. It was terrible. Jamie Foxx should be ashamed of himself.
He should, because he knows better. He's like the adult on set as far as I'm concerned, and he really screwed the pooch on this.
His character, why is he involved in this?
So okay. So you had texted me that you have a real problem with his character and his reasoning for being there, and I actually kind of get it because it's like, cut the head off the snake. I'm going to stop the funding for the war. That'll make things better here. Because you said to me, why doesn't he just kill a bunch of these fuckers there? But he's been doing this his whole life. He sees that that's really not doing anything.
His son was killed by the soldiers, so it's personal for him.
Yes.
And Robin tried to save his son, so that's kind of how their relationship starts.
But his reasoning for, I've chosen you. Well, are you like some sort of wizard? You're going to bestow some magical abilities on him?
You got your fucking hand chopped off. You weren't that good.
I'm really
you weren't
good.
Like unstoppable.
It was 2 against 1, and 1 was down. So really, it was 1 against 1.
It was so. And here's my argument against you sticking up for this.
Okay,
like the Sheriff of Nottingham's just a bit player. I mean, there's a whole the Catholic Church.
Well,
the head of the snake is like the king or something. It's not the Sheriff of Nottingham.
It is so ridiculous because they do that. I'm like, okay, fine enough reasoning, but why are you here? Why aren't you in like London or wherever taking on the royalty? Like, I get the thought process. Get out of where the war is. Stop where it's being funded. Fine. But then they're like, this is the heart and soul of the Crusades or whatever. And you're like,
no,
wait, we have the biggest, most CGI church ever.
He's an inept sheriff who sucks and can't figure anything out. He's an idiot.
And
He's an idiot.
I like how they spend one scene trying to humanize him, talking about how he was beaten by priests or whatever.
Oh yeah. And then at the end, after they use that to humanize him, Robin like turns all monstrous and is like, or is it Jamie Foxx's character that does it?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're gonna get the sticks or whatever. He like rubs it in his face at the end.
Yep. I don't understand this movie at all, because like it literally, okay, I want to go to the training montage. So they show up.
The great training montage.
The aforementioned training montage. So they show up at his house and they're like, we're going to fix it up. It's going to be my training area. And he just runs around his house shooting paintings of like guards. And then Jamie Foxx is like, oh, you're not that good. Try this bow. And then now he's just amazing. He's got a different bow. He's the best guy ever now. There's no like personal reason for like growing. It's not even, it is a montage, but it's not a training montage. It's so weird because it's like there's no improvement.
It's a horrible one.
It's just like there's no improvement.
How about the fact you mentioned his house?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to hide out and like start my career. I think we'll use my house. I don't want anyone to know who I am. Right. The perfect place to train and become Robin Hood is in my fucking house.
Right. I also love the fact that they take it. They take the house and his house was taken. It was seized for taxes for the war
Correct.
For purposes of war. How does he get it back?
He just breaks in and it's his house.
Also,
that's all it takes.
He attacks his own men while it's Robin Hood down in Afghanistan. He attacks some dudes who are there's no consequence. In fact, the consequence is to get sent back home.
Yeah, that made no sense. I was thinking that when it happened, I'm like, wait a minute, is he free? He's just free now?
Yeah.
Like, isn't he in trouble? Like, wouldn't someone report to the sheriff? Like, hey, you need to throw this guy in prison. He's going straight in jail.
This is mutiny. This is whatever.
Treason.
Whatever. Treason. He should be court-martialed. It's over. Going to jail.
Killed,
rapies, whatever. It's happening. You're not going home.
You just go home.
You just get a trip home.
And nobody tells the sheriff. He gets like blindsided, like Robin's back.
Yeah.
Everyone, Robin's back. And then the next day there's this Hood character.
Yes.
Who's like breaking into shit and stealing money from the government. And nobody fucking it's astounding.
No, I'm not holding anything back. Nitpick coming right at you.
There's no nitpicks in this. It's all legitimate.
Friar Tuck.
Oh, awful.
So Friar Tuck, I mean, I'd say he was the best thing in the movie, which is to say that he was fine. But
he was terrible. Where were the merry men, by the way?
They don't exist. That's
Saving
for the
sequel.
We've got to parse things out, Jackson. Ration it out. So Friar Tuck. They got that whole meeting that you're talking about where the two people that are named actually speak up, which makes no sense in a tyrannical government.
Stupid.
Makes no sense. They have no rights. This isn't America. This is like 1100 BC or AD in Britain.
Yeah, it's like the Renaissance. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So not happening. But
such a hackney scene.
He's in there and everybody else is in their like yellow garb, all the priests and whatever. He's the only one still wearing his like green thing. It just stuck out. It's like, hey, this is a character to remember.
Yes. Well, and doesn't he speak up like, I've heard through the grapevine that Robin is alive.
What kind of government is this where they have a meeting and then anybody can just shout anything out?
And how this meeting you don't think that the sheriff would have been like, okay, well, we need the Loxley vote. Like, let's come up with a solution since he's not here.
Was that ever brought up again? They're like, oh, we need the Loxley vote.
Well, no, because Loxley was there to vote because somehow he tricks them into like believing that he's like a loyal. Nobody told.
But did they vote? What were they voting on?
Oh God, what were they voting on at that point?
I really don't think that was. I don't think that was brought up again. I really don't.
Whatever it was
is just dropped. We need the Loxley vote. Okay. and then you got what's his name? Taron Egerton, right?
Yeah, Kingsman. Who I like.
I like him a lot. His character has nothing here. He has no personal growth. They say in writing that it's like what you want to do with the characters, they got the goal, the thing that they want to do, and then there's the thing that they need to do. And the thing that they need to do is the thing that's going to be their character arc.
Okay.
He had none of that. It was literally stop bad man from taxing poor people.
Yeah, it was. It was ridiculous.
There's no central theme. There's no emotional core. Maid Marian is a fucking CW actress. She was awful.
You know what's funny is she was in like a couple good movies recently too.
Really?
Which is insane to me.
She
was like, or decent movies. She was the wife in Papillon. That prison one.
Right.
But yeah, no, in this I totally agree. I mean, I don't know if she's a good actress or not. I haven't seen her enough. But.
She had nothing. I mean,
the movie was a CW movie.
Yeah.
Like it basically felt like a CW show.
Yes.
With less like character work and interesting thematic elements in it.
I feel bad for Ben Mendelsohn because he keeps getting cast as this, asshole role. And this is the one that actually like finally takes it too far.
I think so too. It's too much.
It's over.
Yeah, it's
done.
over.
He can't do this anymore. He's done.
It was so bad. He was the whole movie. And I keep coming back to this. The whole fucking movie revolves around a masked vigilante, and they set it up in such a way where if you didn't know the identity of the masked vigilante, you would have to be completely inept and stupid. There's no way you wouldn't know who he is. Yeah. And that breaks the movie. Like, I believe I can still buy that people don't know Clark Kent is Superman, even though all he does is part his hair in a different way, because it like they set it up so that it makes sense.
Right.
In this, it's like every single thing, everything that happens tells you who he is.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that this was made.
Yeah.
That nobody looked at this and went, okay, well, this is too obvious.
So they, like you said, they do some thin political veiling, like the Halliburton reference of like, these are my loyal guys. Like that just comes out of nowhere and you're like, okay, really over the top. So you can have a face because it's one of the guys that he knows from the war.
Right. Yep.
So you can have a face villain.
Well, and you
mini
you
boss.
can do. I don't have a problem with like it can make a story more interesting if you like connect it to modern days. But it's like you don't need to treat your audience like they're idiots. Although I guess the people that like this, I mean, they might be idiots. So maybe that's who it's made for.
I mean, I'm just watching it and I'm like, because you had said that you didn't like the political messaging in it, and so you just saw every movie this week before I did. And so I was looking for it and I was like, there's a little bit here, but this has always been a movie about, or a story about tyranny and the oppression of the people. So that's always going to be an element. So in that regard, I didn't find it as bad as I was expecting based on what you had said.
No, I agree with that. I'm more talking about basically the scene at the beginning was the one that was like, it's like a total Brexit, you know what? And fine, you want to say something about Brexit? I have no problem with that. But it's fucking literally like I looked over at the guy who was sitting next to me when we went and saw it, and we looked at each other like, this is just, come on.
It was like I said,
it's cartoonishly obvious what they're doing.
Right. Well, and that was a problem. But like I said, my real problem with that is that this is not a democracy. You don't get to, people don't get to do that without being reprimanded.
Right.
They would be dead.
Right. Well, and I love the whole Robin Hood thing. It kind of hits both political sides, the Robin Hood story, because you have the over-oppressive, overtaxing government that's like stealing from the people, and he's taking it back. But then you also have like the unjust war going on. So like everyone should be shit on in this.
Yeah.
But they just didn't. They just did it in the most baseline, awful, boring, stupid, treat your audience like they're children kind of way.
How'd you like that line? Fear is God's greatest tool. That's why the church invented hell.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about right on the nose.
Oh, my God.
I'm not even Christian. And I'm like, come on, guys, really? Like, we're going to do this?
Was that was the cardinal that said that?
That was the cardinal that said that.
God. Yeah.
Just awful. And then that's the scene where Robin breaks in and Ben Mendelsohn says to him after he like proves his worth or whatever, he goes, "Welcome to the big table, Robin." And it's like, we got it. We already got it. Because they said that, because Robin actually says to him earlier in the movie, "I want a seat at the big table."
Well, it's just funny, too. It's like, I'm sorry, I know there's corruption, vast amounts of corruption in the Catholic Church and whatever, but I don't think that they think they invented hell.
I think
maybe some of them, but
maybe back in the day.
I believe they think like that it's like
it was just,
most of it's legit. So like having and it was like one of those wink to the camera.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And you know, like the absolute, like, I mean, you're talking about things that break the movie is like, we haven't even established that Robin is that good at archery. Like there was the training montage, but we got the picture that maybe, what's his name? Jamie Foxx was actually better.
Well, he was,
when he
but
had
he lost
both hands.
His hand, yeah.
And so it's like, well, in that regard, then Robin Hood isn't that great. So why is he able to go and take on hordes of men? Because he's
the training montage.
Yeah, it's a training montage. Not a good reason. It just makes no sense why he is able to take on these things by himself, which is why Robin Hood and the Band of Merry Men are necessities. Because it's ridiculous when it's one dude with a bow taking on dudes with armor.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, and it's funny, like his motivation for doing this, like theoretically, he could have just been like, dude, fuck you. I just want to get my girl back and go steal my money.
Yeah.
Get my money back.
No, that would have been some sort of emotional arc.
Well, yeah. Why is he even getting involved in the big? I mean, he's got a
big heart.
Yeah, right.
Because
they told you he does.
Yes.
Not because you really. Oh, I guess you saw him save dude's son.
We just never learned anything about anyone in this movie.
Oh, it's awful.
Everybody is who they are at the beginning of the movie, at the end of the movie. Nobody changes. Nobody learns anything except for literally information. Oh, Robin is Robin Hood.
It's terrible.
They also...
Is this the worst movie of the year?
I think I hated Crimes of Grindelwald more.
Oh, really?
Maybe. I don't know.
This is worse than that.
It's probably
objectively. This is more.
It's lazier. It's certainly lazier. Oh God, there was something else.
The Nun is still my number one. Because I at least got some entertainment value out of watching a dumpster fire with this.
This is completely like unabashedly a ripoff of like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises.
It's awful.
Like the shots that are chosen, the conversations. I know you. Robin of Locksley is the mask. The Hood is who you really are. Really?
Well, there's a setup at the end with like a helicopter shot, like an over the city shot where like I was sitting there like, wait a minute, did they just steal this from like the Dark Knight soundtrack? Like,
Yep. The soundtrack is that. And like you said, the Guy Ritchie stuff, like the close, quick cuts, the like something's in focus, something's not in focus, the slow-mo coming in and out.
Oh my God, the slow-mo, like Zack Snyder-ish 300
That
stuff.
was awful.
None of it even fit together at all. It wasn't cohesive at all.
It was like somebody was just like, all right, I'm bored of regular shots now, time for a slow-mo. And you're like, wait, what? Why now?
It's Robin Hood. Can we just like give me a break? I don't go see Robin Hood because I want to see like these, action-packed whatever.
I hated the fact that he just like he was an idiot too. He would just barrel into places where it was like 30 or 50 dudes and he's like, I'm by myself, but I've got my crippled friend, so we're fine.
Yep.
Fuck you. And then they did this stupid thing like, Robin, is that you? Are we really going to have this conversation now? You literally just said that.
And I was just laughing because I'm like, someone figured it out.
It was awful. But no, I'm just like, why doesn't he just sneak around? Why isn't he stealthy? Why doesn't he like?
Well,
that'd be
he snuck into that one area on the bottom,
and then that had to turn into another action
that was
scene
just
too.
a big battle. Yeah,
So it was just exposition, action scene, exposition, action scene, over and over and over.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
It was terrible. It is an F. It is an absolute
It's a clear F.
So I guess actually by definition, it's not as bad as The Crimes of Grindelwald. I think. I don't know if this is the worst of the year. It's damn close. It's going to be on my list. I'm 90% sure.
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
I don't know where it's going to place. I mean, I don't know. What would you have done
if I were making
a Robin Hood? Like what?
I think it would be. It's one of those timeless stories. You can just throw it in another genre. Like I would try a sci-fi Robin Hood that's like in the future or something.
Right. Well, see, they actually tried that here, Jackson. They tried to fuse it with a superhero genre.
No, not the same. I mean, I get it. You didn't. You're kind of right. You made it like an action movie.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. No, do something completely new and make it good. That's another key.
I wouldn't mind another animated one, but do CG animated.
Okay.
And I'm watching something like Battle Angel Alita. And I'm seeing that.
I'm excited to see that.
That new trailer is killer. It's absolutely amazing. But I'm watching that. I'm like, you're right. A cyberpunk future would be cool.
It's time to try something different. And I'm sure there's something out there that's like that.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
It needs, and we were saying before the podcast, it's part of the public domain, so anybody can make it. So if anybody's listening to this who has the means to make a movie like that, just make it.
Yeah, why not?
Because it's going to be better than this. I mean, I want to see a steampunk one personally. I think that would be really cool. I don't know. It's just there are so many places to go. We just need to do something different.
Something different. I would agree.
So
before we leave today, I actually talked someone into watching Dark.
Oh,
we had our
good.
Netflix episode. Now, Nate, he's a listener.
Oh,
he watched it dubbed.
Oh, what are you doing, Nate?
Yeah,
we should have put a disclaimer.
No, I told him.
Okay,
he's one of those people. Those people that they don't.
What do you mean, those people?
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. I'll write a statement apologizing to the.
What do you mean you don't like
subtitle haters?
What do you mean you don't like fried chicken? Anyways,
but yeah, people watch Dark and watch it with subtitles.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he watched it and he loved it.
Oh,
so watch it if you really are that against reading.
Just watch it. You have to watch it. But yeah, that was my random shout out of the day. Okay.
And make sure you subscribe to our show and rate our show, please.
Yes, please. Thank you. We are the
1
fastest,
star, 5 star.
We are the fastest growing conservative podcast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. No, but hey, we do have other news.
Yes.
We do have other news
today. That was
today
a Ben Shapiro thing, by the way. We're not necessarily
conservative.
conservative.
We're certainly not.
We're neutral.
But we do have real news.
Yeah.
Thank you to the United Arab Emirates.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. We are now ranked 119th in the TV and film section of the iTunes chart in the United Arab Emirates. So to the Arabs out there,
thank you.
We appreciate it.
I don't know how that happened.
They love our show.
What is there to love?
They love. It's just
they love a certain level of incompetence. Maybe?
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
We've got that incompetent charm.
I was going to go somewhere with that, and we would have lost that ranking. But yes, thank you. Thought that was a fun little tidbit. That was a big announcement I got sent to me through email.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, congrats.
By the way, if you are listening to us in the United Arab Emirates of Saudi Arabia, share us with a friend. Let's crack that 100. If you would please share, we would be gratefully grateful.
The more stars, the better that everybody gives us, regardless of your location. So
yeah, we actually don't accept anything other than 5-star reviews.
I'll accept any. We just need that review number up.
5 or go home. But thanks for listening, guys.
Have a good one.